Hello, everyone. Well, unfortunately for this Memorial Day, we do have to talk about a chance of severe storms for the western and central part of the state. And then for tomorrow, a chance of severe storms in the eastern part of the state. So let's talk about both days on your hour-by-hour forecast. 9 a.m. this morning, dealing with already some isolated showers, maybe some weak storms around Sioux City, Fort Dodge, maybe Mason City, but I don't think any farther to the east than Mason City. And I do think this activity in the morning is going to be short-lived. Look what happens when we jump into the afternoon hours, the isolated activity going away. It looks like the entire state will be dry 3 o'clock this afternoon. And really the story for the afternoon is how very warm and windy it's going to be. Mid to upper 80s are going to be very common, and I'm not going to rule out some low 90s for highs, especially in the far eastern part of the state. See that 89 Davenport at 3 o'clock? I bet briefly we'll top out 90, 91 in the Quad Cities. The other story for this afternoon is how very windy it's going to be across Iowa, no matter where you are. We're talking gusts 40, 50 miles per hour. I will say it's looking the windiest in the western part of the state. That's where we can see those gusts up to 50 miles per hour, but even in the eastern part of the state, I think those gusts are going to reach 40 miles per hour. So if you're going to be doing anything outdoors this afternoon involving paper plates, plastic utensils, trying to have a barbecue or a picnic lunch, watch out, because things are going to be blowing around in this wind. Might be a little bit difficult. All right, so 6 o'clock this afternoon. Most are going to be dry, but I do have to mention as early as 6 o'clock for the far western part of the state, for places like Sioux City, the chance for some, once again, isolated showers and storms popping up. But these storms that pop up do have the potential of being severe, because these isolated storms look like are going to be supercell storms. They're not going to be widespread, but they are going to pop up in a few spots, beginning in the late afternoon, continuing through the early evening. Notice how there are some significant gaps. So we are talking about isolated activity, but the problem is these isolated storms will be strong, likely, and have the potential to produce strong winds, hail, and yes, the possibility of tornadoes. So there's 9 o'clock possibility around in the wine. But notice, again, the significant gaps. But what we're going to see later in the night is actually a line of showers and storms develop. So here we are at midnight, and notice stretching from Mason City down towards the south. Now, the threat for tornadoes will be gone at this point, but it's still, initially, when this line forms, still a chance for hail and damaging wind. As we go later in the night, though, this line is going to lose its intensity. Notice already by 3 a.m. as it's pushing into Waterloo, not seeing as much of those shades of red, so still an outside chance for severe storms, but it's dropping. And then when we jump to 6 a.m., when the line's approaching the Quad Cities, notice how it's just green and yellow, so maybe a couple of weak storms, probably mostly showers, but the severe threat over with. So who has a chance of seeing severe storms late this afternoon through the evening and early overnight hours? Well, it does include Waterloo, Mason City, Des Moines, Sioux City. But notice the greatest threat actually on up to the north around Sioux Falls and on up into Minnesota. But I do have to mention it everywhere in these shades of green and yellow, some isolated severe storms are expected. So most probably just going to see heavy rain, lightning, but there's a possibility we could see wind gusts up to 60 miles per hour. And if you get one of those isolated supercell storms, the possibility of golf ball size hail. That's only if one of those supercell storms works over you. And also only if one of those supercell storms works over you during the late afternoon and early evening that we have the possibility of a tornado popping up. So the chance is small for those, but we do have to mention that it is there. And then probably the main threat with that line of storms will be some really strong winds, but that line will be weakening as it pushes to east. So notice the Quad Cities, no chance of severe storms for today. But that changes for tomorrow. 9 a.m. in the morning, like this morning, just some leftover isolated showers and maybe a weak storm. But when we jump into the afternoon around 3 o'clock, the activity will be picking up again. Only for the eastern part of the state, though. Notice a lot cooler to the west and warmer to the east because of this cold front that's going to be pushing in. Not as windy tomorrow as today, but still going to call it a windy day with gusts 30, 35 miles per hour for the eastern part of the state. For most of the central and western part of the state, looking breezy, gusts 20, 25 miles per hour. The best chance of rain right now, it looks like, for the Quad Cities, unfortunately, for the homebound commute. Definitely talking about a good chance for heavy rain, lightning, and once again, unfortunately, the possibility for some damaging wind and hail Right now, it's looking like by 7 o'clock, just some leftover showers for the Quad Cities and the severe threat coming to an end by 7 o'clock in the evening. So the severe threat tomorrow limited really from Waterloo on to the east, with the greatest chance in and around the Quad Cities. Again, heavy rain and lightning looking likely for the late afternoon, and there is a chance for quarter-size hail. Wind gets up to 60 miles per hour, and though the chance is small, can't completely rule out an EF0 or EF1 tornado.